Take that out of your pocket for me real quick. Mike, no, Mike, test 2, you good? All right, no, you're good now. Good. I'm going to clip that right. We'll go right there for you. That should all right. Good. Don't be. All right, welcome back to the 2019 OPA World Championships, coming to you live from Englewood, Florida. We are on our 4th and final race of the day here. This is going to be Unlimited and Super Cat, and I was joined by Scott Porte previously, who is a super stock racer, and now I'm joined by the man Randy Swears, I almost said it again, Fast Boats, because that's how I've known you for years, but FB Marine Group. Randy, welcome. First off, thank you for your support, number 2, and do you want to be out here racing in this right now?
You know, as crazy as it may sound, you know, you're a racer. You always want to be out there racing, even when the conditions are like this, a little bit bumpy. But, hey, it's a beautiful day. Conditions are a bit rough, but I'd still rather be out there than sitting here.
Well, I won't take offense to that right off of the bat, but, you know, I appreciate that because you're right. The competitor in you never wants to stop competing. And once you've gotten it in your blood, once you've done it, even if you've never won, it's still that feeling that you get when you strap in for the first time and you go out there and race. So, but you still have your boat and, you know, maybe you one day make a return, make a comeback.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back. We've got a lot of things going on business-wise and that, so I just figured it's best off to take this year off. As you know, it's a big commitment to race, especially in the Super Cat division, because it's extremely competitive. You have to run really, really hard. These guys that are out here, they bring their A game every single race.
Well, and CJ Grant, the Graydale, the boat that we have here, they bought your hauler, correct? Isn't that your one?
Oh, well, actually, they were going to buy mine. We were going to kind of do a partnership, but no, they actually bought the old war paint boat.
Oh, okay. But they bought your hauler, though, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Buy my hauler, yeah.
I thought that was yours. I just remember because of the doors on it. Well, it's good to have you here. Hopefully you can give us some insight on what's going to go on. Right now, we're under yellow flag for Unlimited, 4 boats in this class. Spooled up CRC, Geico, DF Young, and Cazzini. I was corrected, and we're going green flag racing. Here is the start. Randy, I would venture to say that Mystic, this is going to be its water out here if they can keep it together. It's just going to be able to get across the top so much better being 50 feet.
Yeah, the bigger boat in these conditions is definitely going to give them the advantage. That DF Young boat, 50 feet long Mystic, it's going to be a tough one to beat today. Looks like Geico's already having some problems there.
Yeah, Geico down. They actually broke a C-strainer yesterday and hosed down the back of the motor. They had to do some work overnight, but they are out early. Not sure what's happened to them. Randy, these are your guys right here coming across. Look at AMH and Graydale. And Graydale out to the early lead. Really good throttleman in that boat now, though.
Yeah, you've got Billy Moore running that boat, and he is very good in the rough water. And, you know, that boat's a little bit heavier, so it's a little bit bigger boat than the 388 Skater beside it. So it's if there is a day for it to be out there and win today would be the day that Chris and Billy can put that boat out front. Right now, it looks like they're doing a really nice job running it tucked in, nice and level. You're going to follow and see coming down the front straightaway here, so we'll see what happens when they run that thing into the head sea. They're going to make that turn and start heading north.
Well, and in DF Young, I forgot yesterday, but that's Hugh Fuller in the DF Young boat. And Hugh Fuller is no slouch in the Throttleman world either. He's been around for quite some time. He's run with Richie Wyatt when that boat has come out of storage. But I told Richie this morning, I said, "Would you blow the mothballs off it to bring it out here and race one time?" He said, "Yeah, we wanted to bring it down here and have a good time." But such a beautiful boat. A Mystic is just such a beautiful piece of equipment, great lines. But you can see as they come out of the turns there, they're even struggling when they make this turn into this wind. I mean, it's got to be really rough on the outside. I think the swell is laid down, but just the chop across it with the breeze, it's just got to be not too much fun out there.
Well, anytime you're running a cat, especially into a head sea, and into the wind, especially the big boats, got a big wide tunnel. That DF Young boat's, like I said, 50-foot Mystic. I think it's got a 72 or 76-inch tunnel on it, so it's going to trap a lot of air, and it's really going to want to fly. So the Throttleman here is going to have to tuck those drives down, get that bow to lay down a little bit. I don't know if they've got an onboard ballast tank, but if they do, they're definitely filling that ballast tank right now, running into that head sea.
Well, now it looks like there's a whole cluster of boats behind them. I believe that would be AMH and Graydale. And you were talking about Graydale being the heavier boat and with Billy Moore on board throttling it. And that was a good move, I think, by that team. But you can't take anything away from AMH. I mean, Aaron Hope came into this class 2 years ago. He's teamed up with Anthony Smith. We know that boat is fast because that was formerly Steel. But Aaron's done a good job within the class, too. He's become a contender, and he was right up there in the 6-race OPA Championship Series.
Yeah, Aaron has done a great job with that boat. I mean, he's a competitor. He does not like to lose. And, you've got Smitty that's on the throttles there. It's a great setup. I think what they're going to do is they're going to let Graydale probably run out front a little bit, just kind of sit back on their hip right now, see what they've got, and they'll probably just wait for their right opportunity. But, Chris Grant, this is his first season in the Graydale boat, and, he's learning. And I think this is really his first rough water race, so he's really learning by the seat of his pants there today. And he's going to have a smile on his face when he comes back in. I know every time I talk to him, he's like, "Hey, I'm having a lot of fun out here." And love to see that. That's something that, I do this to have fun.
Yeah.
And, of course, I want to win every single race. But unfortunately, that doesn't always work out. But having fun is very important. Looks like they're running it safe, being conservative. And should be an interesting race to see how it works out.
Well, and I talked to Billy at the block party on Friday night. And, Billy said he's hoping that they can put that boat in the shop, either send it to MTI or maybe even Grant or somebody and get that boat worked on. It will need to be put on a diet, obviously, because it is actually, I think it's probably the oldest boat next to maybe MCON in this class. It is a bit heavier, but you can see how well it runs between these buoys here in our northern turn. I mean, that boat's down flat. It's gotten around CRC spooled up, and it's actually pulled a little bit away from AMH. So it's really good to see that. And like you said, as long as Chris is having fun, he'll want to come back and do it. There's been a lot of new teams in this class, and it's great to see. But right now, DF Young just getting it done.
Yeah, you see the DF Young boat just coming across the start-finish line there. Once again, there's no substitute for length when it comes to rough water. And this 50-foot Mystic hull has always been a great boat in rough water. But
well, you've run a lot of boats in your day, and the Super Cat boats, which are what Graydale, CJ Grant are, and AMH, they're number 6 boats. The biggest difference there is DF Young is a rudder boat. Based upon your experience running in the classes, what's going to be better conditions like this, the rudder boat or the 6 boat? The rudder boat's much more reliable because there's less to break, but what handles better as far as turning and responsiveness?
Well, there's definitely an advantage for the rudder boat. Anything that's got a surface drive on it, you're definitely going to have an advantage in the rough water. You're able to, the surface drive boat doesn't carry the bow as much. So in this kind of water, you can lay that bow down and really just lay the power to it, which is what you want to be able to do. In the following sea here, you got 2 different conditions. In the following sea, you actually need to trim the boat up a little bit to get it to fly a little bit. And then when they turn around and head north, you're running into the wind and into the waves. So you actually want to be able to tuck it down. It's going to be really important today, especially in the Supercat class, because you're very limited on what horsepower you have, is to be propped right.
We're right, and that was going to be a critical selection. Probably a little bit more critical if the entire, Supercat class was here. But, AMH wants to go out and win, and so does CJ Grant. So they were definitely thinking about their setup. And it was funny. I learned something a few years ago in running different boats, and you can attest to this too. A surface drive boat and a number 6 boat actually handle completely different. If it's almost the same hull, Jay Muller taught me this, and I learned it. The number 6 boat will actually want to push the bow up more because the drives are down and in, as to where the surface drives, the props are up and out, and it'll want to push it more level. Have you had that in your experience also?
Yes, absolutely. The number 6 boat, the way the drive's designed, and also with the cavitation plate, it's going to want to carry the bow a little bit more. So what you have to do is run that little bit smaller prop, be able to tuck the drive in, but still be able to get it up into your power band. These motors here in Supercat class, max RPM you turn is 7,000 RPMs.
Right.
You have a rev limiter for that. And these motors, the majority of your racing is done really between about 4,800 RPMs and 7,000. So you want to prop it to always be in that power band, especially in a rough race like this where you're constantly on and off the throttle. So today, you pick the smallest propeller you've got, figure out exactly where your CG is on your boat as far as setting up the weight. We're not allowed to run a ballast tank in Supercat.
Right.
So you've got to predetermine where your weight needs to be. A little bit too far forward, that bow's going to want to dive on you. That's not a good situation as a racer to be in with your boat set up like that.
Right, and especially not in a cat boat. Some of the Vs we saw in the Pro Stock Vs and the SVXs, you watch that race from downstairs a short while ago, they were actually trying to break the water, but they're trying to cut through it like a knife. That's how their hull's designed. If you stuff it with a cat, you get water down in that tunnel, it could really make a mess of what's going on. So DF Young continues to lead. CJ Grant, big hop there. They continue to lead in Supercat. And AMH is in second. And right now, CRC spooled up as second in Unlimited, and Cazzini Offshore Racing is currently in third. Miss Geico has exited the course. They went down early with some sort of mechanical issue. Remember, they broke yesterday a sea strainer and caused some sort of, they had to change a starter, and Steve Curtis told me they had to change some electrical things out on the engine. That's one thing we talked about. One of your victory hulls, which you're now a dealer for. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Flipping over in this saltwater is detrimental to the equipment, and I think a couple teams felt that yesterday. Right now, DF Young continues to lead, and Randy, I'm really impressed with CJ Grant Gaydell. I mean, it's awesome to see it running that good. I think Billy feels comfortable in it, and maybe like you said, Chris is just finally starting to have fun, and they're learning. They're running really good today in these conditions.
Yeah, they've got that boat set up right. Billy always does a really nice job. I've raced against him many times. He's got a lot of time racing these Supercats, so he knows the right setup. He's been racing that boat all season, so it's not the fastest boat in the calm water. But look, we got a situation just like Ryan Beckley today. Ryan's got the older 30 skater in Superstock. He's a little bit heavier. He's not so fast in the calm water. But look, today is the day that if your boat's a little bit overweight, and it's going to actually give you a little bit of help to keep it in the water, as long as you can get the balance set up on it right and have that right prop selection, which it looks like Billy and Chris have today.
Well, DF Young continues to lead in Unlimited. CJ Grant Racing continues to lead in Supercat, AMH in second, and CRC spooled up. They actually broke a transmission and broke a gimbal yesterday, if I remember correctly, from what Jay Muller told me. One of those teams that worked all night long to get that boat picked up. And then Scazzini is currently running in third place in Unlimited. Geico out early with some sort of mechanical issue. Well, Randy, this final race, kind of fitting. It's brought to us by FB Marine Group. First off, tell us about the lines of boats that you sell with FB Marine Group.
Well, we've primarily got 4 lines of boats that we carry. Cement Marine, which is actually built over in the St. Pete area here, which is primarily center consoles. We do a 35, a 38. We got a new 44 that's coming out that's going to be really nice. We also build a 50-foot cat and a 42-foot V-bottom. And then we've got Contender. Contender's one of the top names when it comes to center console fishing boats. That's pretty much our premier line. They build a fantastic product that ranges between 25 feet and 44 feet. And then we've got Century Boats, another center console line that we added to go along with our Contenders. And then we've got Victory. So, we're working with the guys over at Victory. building some of their 34s to bring them in. I've got one that just finished up paint. I think it's actually loaded on the ship this week and going to head over this way. It's going to go to a client of mine out in Texas, and it's been a lot of fun. It's a great product. Their fit and finish is really spectacular, and been dealing a lot with Ricky Maldonado. You know, he's a throttleman on the Jackhammer boat.
Yep.
And I believe he's actually out here.
I saw him coming down the steps. I think he's got the brace on his wrist from his wreck a short while ago in Key West, I believe. DF Young continues to lead at Unlimited. They're headed down the backstretch into the dog leg. CJ Grant is still leading in Supercat. Not much has changed. AMH, both boats look really good. CJ Grant just looks a little bit more level than CMH. And again, that could be the weight factor. To talk about Victory for our fans that are watching online, listening here at the beach, they may recognize that name, Victory. Why would that be?
Well, a lot of these boats, if you look at the Geico boat out here, it's actually built by Victory. Of course, we have the actual Victory boat that runs. Gary Ballou in the FJ propeller boat that unfortunately he flipped over yesterday, but his boat's a 32-foot Victory.
Yep.
So they primarily didn't sell pleasure boats or build pleasure boats. They just basically built boats for themselves and race boats for themselves. And they've expanded into the pleasure boat market. And I've been fortunate enough to align myself with them. And once again, their fit and finish and their carbon fiber work is spectacular. They really do an amazing job. I mean, I have an MTI that I raced in Supercat class here that's a full carbon boat. Very, very nice boat. But if I look at the fit and finish difference between the two, you know, that Victory is definitely done really, really nice.
Well, and Victory has experience because they run XCAT overseas also, which is somewhat equivalent to our super stock class over here, except they run the Mercury ROS motors. So they had the technology to be able to go out and run, to be able to go out and design the CAT outboard class. And we'll update everybody on the race status. And I've got a question for you based upon that. DF Young just exits the northern turn, headed back on the finish lap. This should complete lap number 4, again of 7. We did cut this race in half just due to the conditions. Beautiful day out here. I'm liking the breeze. It's not hot like it was yesterday. DF Young and that 50-foot Mystic is definitely getting it done in Unlimited. CJ Grant leading in Supercat with AMH in second. SV Offshore, boat number 88. Unfortunate day yesterday for Simon and Vinny as they hurt a motor at the very end of the race. They're still trying to get that boat figured out, and I look forward to what they can do in the 2020 season as we get ready for the APBA National Championship. Randy, let me ask you a question. So Victory, a company that's never built pleasure boats. People don't realize that Victory race team, though, that's their job when they go over there. Salim and Ali, that's all they do. They drive boats. I mean, they go over there, they're testing, they tell me they don't have time to do anything else. They literally go out and drive boats, they come back, they get feedback, they get to keep going. Did the idea come up to build a Victory pleasure boat CAT from this explosion that we've seen in the pleasure boat market with these CAT outboards from MTI, from Skater, obviously Right Performance out there at Lotto? Everybody's doing it. So is that where the idea came from to start building them?
You know, I can't really speak for them for what the reasoning was, but, you know, if I look at it from my standpoint, at the end of the day, I think what they're trying to do is get some revenue to offset some of their racing costs.
Of course,
they're heavily involved in the F1 tunnel boats.
Yep.
They're also involved huge into jet ski, Sea-Doo racing, the offshore stuff. So it's a big organization over there. The amount of technology that they have and the data acquisition systems that they have are really, second to none.
Right.
They build an amazing product that they do have access to be able to figure out exactly what they need to have as a pleasure boat. And it's different than building a race boat.
Right.
We want it to be fast, but we also want it to be comfortable when it's a pleasure boat. We want it to have good visibility. We want to have what they've done is put some a lot of freeboard on it, so it's got big high sides. So it's a little bit different design than what we see in the Doug Wrights. But it's a great product, and we're going to start bringing as many as we can to the shores over here of the United States.
Well, the Victory guys obviously worked with them all season long in the APBA Championship Series, the 6-race series. We'll be doing it in 2020. The Victory guys, some of the nicest people out in the sport. As we look at Cazzini currently running in 3rd place in Unlimited. Geico out early with some sort of mechanical issue. Cazzini has his own problems yesterday. Never quite found out what happened, but he's running a pretty experimental motor, if you would, with the twin turbos. And Herb Stotler builds a great engine package because Herb Stotler actually builds the engines in DF Young. And Randy, if we look out here just to our left over our broadcast television, DF Young has really slowed, and in fact slowed so much that CJ Grant has now gotten by them. Attrition was a race all day. Do you think DF Young maybe lifted a little bit, said save the equipment, or might they face some sort of mechanical issue? It's really hard to tell in these conditions.
Yeah, it's very tough to tell from sitting up here. But if I was DF Young right now, some pretty rough conditions. He's got a substantial lead on his next competitor, so he's probably just backed off a little bit. Doesn't want to hurt the boat, doesn't want to hurt the motors, and look, he's gonna let these Supercat guys go out and race. Kind of right now he's in the middle there, but you see AMH Motorsports coming up on him. So we'll see what happens here in a little bit. But I think DF Young has just kind of backed off a little bit, and he's going to get it around the race course and get it back onto the trailer without any damage, without any mechanical failures, and probably take the world championship.
Well, and running cat boats in this, to run a cat boat in this is bone jarring conditions. I mean, when you come up and you hit one of these crosswakes or one of these little rollers, it doesn't cut through it. It'll tend to beat you a little bit, and it's hard for these guys being in this boat right now. It takes a lot out of them, a lot of energy to be able to race in these conditions. But man, if you watch CJ Grant, you wouldn't believe that boat's as old as it is, and you probably wouldn't believe that this is their first year racing together. They're accelerating between the entrance to this northern turn and between it. They're accelerating down that way, and then they'll make the turn and come back towards us. And just the boat looks really good. I give my hats off to Chris and Billy inside of that. So back to the victory thing, though, a question I would have is, and Performance Boat Center, right? They started building Right Performance, and they put a Right Performance out in the Superstock class, actually won the APBA championships, and then they went from skater to MTI, believing in race what they sell. Would that be some of the motto behind the victory held to them? And they had the success in racing, the technology to do it. They, put some of that into a pleasure boat and give the normal people or the customers, the consumers, a chance to enjoy that product.
Well, absolutely. I think that's part of the thinking behind it. They do build a great boat, so they do want to get it out there. Not everybody's a hardcore racer,
right?
So there's a lot of guys that are out here, sitting along the beach here that have maybe 28 skaters or 32 Doug Wrights, or whatever type of performance boat they have right now, and that outboard cat market's becoming real popular. So, we're just trying to tap into that market here in the U.S., bring this product in, and the people that have bought them so far have been very, very happy with the product. We can always talk about, which boat's 2 miles an hour faster, which one does this. There's always a trade-off. There's no perfect boat out there. Doug Wright's a friend of mine. He builds a phenomenal boat. The Victory boat is, once again, phenomenal boat as well. So it really comes down to what you like in styling. They're two different looking boats. I think that the Victory is a little more aggressive styling, where the Doug Wright's a little more rounded off. So, I compare it to Lamborghini and Ferrari. So if you look at the Ferrari, that would be the Doug Wright of the water. If you look at the Lamborghini, that'd be the Victory of the water.
Well, and it's funny, we'll update everybody on the races. You look at CRC spooled up, currently running second place in Unlimited. Jay Muller and Mike DeFries. Everybody's trying to talk Mike DeFries and going up to Class 1 next year, getting those 1,100 engine packages put in this boat. He did have the bigger boat, which was Otis Gassé, but he wrecked that a year ago in Michigan City, Indiana, and the boat has yet to make a return. So this is a boat he previously owned. He brought it back out to race and does a great job. A little bit of but Randy, to me, this MTI is definitely, compared to DF Young at least, is at a disadvantage because it's just going to be a smaller boat. So it's just not going to span across this stuff as easily as that 50-foot Mystic.
Well, this is actually the exact same hull as the Graydale boat.
Okay.
So just obviously he's got a lot more horsepower. And I think that once again, he's just, he knows it's going to be tough to compete with that big 50 Mystic today. So he's out there running it, wants to get it, finish the laps. I'm not sure exactly where they stand on points and how it works. But, look, Mike DeFries and Jay Muller, they're no stranger to this. These guys know how to run hard with the best of them. I raced against Jay in Super Cat class a lot, and actually Mike DeFries. Maybe their setup's off just a little bit. Maybe they're just being conservative. You always make that tough decision, especially in water conditions like this, is how hard do you want to push your product? How hard do you want to push your boat? Do you want to take the risk of really hurting it badly? Once you're running through this, you're probably coming down this back straightaway at, well over 100 miles an hour. So these waves get very, very hard, the impact of them at those types of speeds.
So we just got a text over from the Geico team. They felt a large vibration in the drive shaft right off of the start. So that could have been a prop, or maybe even a broken drive shaft. Thanks to Cole for that update. And, Miss Geico, no stranger to adversity this season, racing with victory in Sarasota, flipped the boat over. And when both boats flipped over almost simultaneously there, Geico got the short end of that stick because it really tore that boat to pieces. And they leased that boat from Zabo. And Miles Jennings jumped in it with Steve Curtis. So tough for those guys. We know James Shepard. We hope he's out there listening online with Steve Curtis, who's in the boat. But, just a world-class team with Geico. When DF Young came by, though, I did listen, and it didn't sound like anything was wrong. Like you said, it just sounded like they kind of backed out of it and just let it cruise. And maybe that boat might run a little bit better, a little slower. If it's not picking the bow up, it'll stay down and maybe cut through the water a little bit better. But DF Young continues to lead in Unlimited. CRC spooled up in second, Cazzini in third. And Graydale continues to lead over AMH. I think maybe the lead has shrunk just a little bit, Randy. But hard to tell. Both of these teams are communicating with their crews on shore, and I'm sure they're probably running, distances between 1 and 2 and letting everybody know what's going on. So it'll be an interesting race, but I'm so happy for CJ Grant and Graydale. It's things like this that inspire a guy like Chris to want to come back and do it again. Once he gets that win, he gets infected with it and he wants to do it again, and that's really, really good.
Well, and that's something with this sport that, I always look at it and I tell people, I said, I often say, hey, every dog's got its day. And, in a funny way, but I mean, they've worked very hard at getting this boat where it's at. And, look, I know that I talked to Billy Moore when they first got the boat, and he was a little bit, upset with how it was running, and it was a lot heavier. And look, they've done a great job with what they've got. They put the boat on a diet. It's still not maybe exactly where they need it to be. But look, today they hit that setup spot on. The boat's running great, and today is their opportunity day.
Yep.
So,
well, and originally Billy wasn't even scheduled to be in the boat. I think it was in Cocoa Beach. They had an issue with the throttleman that was supposed to be in it. They brought Billy in to run it. Billy's committed to sticking with them. Billy's a pretty busy guy too, working up there for an Iconic Marine Group, obviously dealing with the new fountains and everything. So Billy's got a lot going on, but Bobby Moore's son, Billy's been around this a long time, like you said. He definitely has the experience needed to be able to race a boat, and it shows today.
Well, the Ken Jensen that was originally going to be in the boat, I know him very well. Great guy, awesome poker run guy. He's been around high-performance boats for a number of years. But, he got in that thing, and he just wasn't comfortable. He didn't care for the overall environment. I mean, for people that don't understand that cockpit's fairly small,
yep.
It can be easy to be claustrophobic in it. And, I give him credit because there's a lot of times you have to go out and push these things hard.
Yep.
And we take that for granted. It's second nature for us that have done it.
Yep.
But it does take a certain skill set. And I have to say that, takes a bigger man sometimes to say, hey, you know what? This maybe just isn't for me.
No, for sure.
And, rather than go out and do something to hurt himself or be uncomfortable, hey, you know what? Racing is not for everybody.
Yeah, and racing a canopy boat is surely not for everybody. But this is pretty exciting back here because CJ Grant had a huge lead for a while there, and now it looks like AMH has caught up to him. And I can tell you, in this class, Randy, as CRC spooled up, comes across the finish line, they are currently running second in Unlimited. I have not seen Cazzini in quite some time, so I don't know if he's down with a mechanical issue. I did hear a pop last time by. But what these Super Cats do, though, Randy, and you can attest to this, is they'll either come into their setup or they'll fall away from their setup, depending on, what the driver and throttleman have gone with. You got to kind of wonder if that might be the case here. Maybe and Billy and Chris are getting a little too light now, getting a little bit too, big hop there by AMH. Caught a bit of that wind under the tunnel. Another big hop there, landing down on the port side of the boat. You think it could be a setup thing, although that did slow AMH down, so that may make you wonder, did CJ Grant have the same problem, just a little bit of a hit?
Well, this is where the racing's really going to come in right now. Like I had said from the beginning,
as we got a CJ Grant crew member coming down, giving us some notes there. I think AMH has heard something. AMH is slowed. Oh, nope, there they go. Back up and running again. Randy, you guys build these boats as tough as you possibly can, but man, sometimes you just can't prevent the small things from happening. I was talking to the Punisher team who ran yesterday. They were out in the lead, and the ignition coil came off of its rubber mounts on the back of the motor and slammed up against the drive shaft, ran for a lap like that, and then finally let go. So matter what you do, you try and be as prepared as best as you can. But some of those bigger hits, like we just saw, can really be detrimental to their day.
Well, and that's what it's always, that one wave, or take a real hard hit. It can be anything from the motor might shut off, the fuel pump. A lot of times, fuel delivery system, you can have an issue with that. Could be some spray. There's so many different factors. But
well, these are carbureted motors. These have floats in them, so as they run like this, they could float the flow to the carburetor. Maybe flood out the carburetor, maybe dump a little bit too much fuel in the engine. Like you said, the fuel injected motor is a little bit different. They're a little bit more resilient to this. But carburetors, it's hard to set these carburetors up to run in these conditions.
Well, and that's exactly it. And some of these impacts that you take, basically the jets and the balls in the carburetor, they'll go up to the top and where you're not getting any clean fuel for a minute. So they'll hesitate and stumble a little bit, and then you get back on the throttle. So and also just yourself physically. I mean, you'll take some hits out here. They will literally knock the wind out of you.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, they could knock you out in a canopy boat because it'll slam your head up against, one way or the other. I was talking to Kyle Dietzman, who ran the speedster boat. He was knocked out in this race previously in Class 4, and he came to, and they kept on racing. But you're right about the canopy thing. It's really weird when you get in a canopy boat because you literally can see just about 90 degrees from your eyesight unless you're running your rear view camera. And like you said, it's just not for everybody. So you're right in saying that it was big of him to step away from it and let Billy get into it. And it kept Chris maybe wanting to stay in it and kept him safe. Hey, Frank's our GPS representative from OPA, big burly fellow, but Frank's just a big old teddy bear.
I know the crew from Graydale wanted to have a shout out to all the Canadians that are here supporting their team. I think they got the majority of Canada down here. I see the beach lined up with a number of the supporters for Graydale, and they've got to just be enjoying this. They've spent the whole season where they've had some struggles, and it's so great to see them at the front of the pack here. They're racing hard right now. Let me tell you what, Chris is going to get out of this at the end of this race, and I can tell you he is going to have a smile on his face, whether he wins or loses. He is going to say, look, this is about as much fun as you can have.
Well, no, you're exactly right. But I would kind of wonder if it's a setup thing because we haven't seen that much air under CJ Grant. I mean, they've been hopping around quite a bit, but now they're leaving the water quite a bit more. So they're lighter.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they probably just stood it up by your reaction. I was looking over at you.
Well, I think we got AMH out in front. And like I said from the beginning, I think you're going to have AMH just kind of shadow CJ Grant until they're going to wait for their opportunity. And it looks like AMH is out front right now. And Graydale's trying to reel him back in.
Well, we just saw AMH do something that's really dangerous in a catboat, Randy, and that's called tripping, where they go up, they'll fly through the air, but the back of the boat will hit a wave and throw that front down. That's how you can stuff a cat. That can be also a pretty dangerous situation, especially in these conditions with such a stiff breeze pushing up the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you always, as a racer, you've just got to, there's a big flyer right there by Graydale. It's one of those things that I don't care how good a throttleman you are, there's always that one wave out there with your name on it.
Right.
And, hopefully you've got your boat set up right. You're quick enough to respond to it. And, look, running down this back straightaway, they're probably running close to 100 miles an hour, maybe even a little over it. And the impacts that you take, you've really just got to be on your game every single moment. I always tell my driver, even late in the race, I said, mentally don't let up.
Right.
Stay with it. Don't let up. And, physically, this is a lot of abuse when you have no idea. I tell people this is like going, 10 rounds with a boxer, but you can't hit them back.
Right.
Strapped in.
Or you're just getting pelted by a lineman, by a defensive end or a tight end or something in football. You just keep getting hit, and it gets you down lower and lower and lower.
So here we got AMH out front. Like I said, I mean, I know that they're, some wily veterans now, for lack of a better term, but, they've waited for their opportunity. Maybe they're coming into their setup.
And the checkered flag just came up. So AMH is going to take the win in Supercat unofficially. That should give him the World Championships. But the champions in my book today are going to be Graydale CJ Grant. A shout out to all the Canadian fans down the beach. Congratulations on what has been so far the best run for this team. And we look for great things for them in 2020.
Absolutely. I think, Chris, after this run, he's going to be very excited. And I'm sure they're going to be making some changes to that boat in the off season. And we'll look for them to be ready and be very competitive next year.
Well, Randy, as we get ready to wrap up this race, it looks like EF Young and CRC Spooled Up are going to finish their race out here. First off, tell us where we can find out more information about FB Marine Group, and tell us some of the things we can expect coming from you. And Statement, obviously, Statement known for building those kind of really bright, colorful boats. What's your future look like in the biz?
For us, we're in the process of trying to build a new showroom and service center. We bought a piece of land, and we're waiting, trying to get our permits and everything in place for that. Our charter division's really starting to come along. We've got charter boats anywhere from I've got a 39 Nortec center console that we charter out all the way up to about 150 footers. So we've got a lot of our clientele, a lot of our powerboat friends and that, they just want to get out on the water. They don't maybe have their boat down here. Yep. So like I said, I've got a beautiful 39 Nortec that sits at Miami Beach Marina that you can charter. We do a lot of corporate events, everything from Christmas parties, birthday parties, everything in between, and something for every budget when it comes to the charter side of the business.
That's awesome to hear. And we know you're full service, 3 locations. Give us where those are one more time.
We've got locations in Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami Beach right now.
That's awesome. FBMarineGroup.com. If you want to sell your boat, you want to list your boat, you want to buy a new boat, you want to buy a used boat, brokerage boat, anything like that, FB Marine Group's the group to go to. Randy, it's been great having you up here. It's been I haven't seen you probably in like a year. I think maybe Key West last year is the last time I got to see you. And I don't think you were racing down there then, but we were still getting to hang out in Key West. Key West is Key West. But what do you think here at Englewood and the fans you've seen here on the beach? It's a pretty awesome race site.
I tell you what, it's a great job. My hat's off to OPA. They did a fantastic setup here. And hey, let me tell you what, for the fans, you could not ask for 2 days of better racing. You had some calm, fast water racing yesterday. You had some rough, high-flying racing today. Hey, if I'm an offshore racing enthusiast, which I am, it doesn't get any better than this.
No, not by any means. And the really great news is that we may have had a lot of boats break, and those things are going to happen as DF Young is going to take the win in Unlimited, and that should unofficially give them the World Championship in Unlimited for the 2019 season. Don't forget, you can check out the awards tonight at the Sandbar at 7 o'clock. But Randy, you're exactly right. High speed yesterday, really rough water today. But the most important thing is we had one boat flip over all weekend. That was Gary Ballou. Jimmy Harrison, Gary Ballou, both walked away unscathed. Boats, they said, Gary told me earlier the boat's fine, just did rip those engine deflector things off. But everybody came home safe, and that's all that matters. We get to go home to our families, and you can appreciate that, because the one thing I want to ask you about before we leave, how's your son Chase doing? Chase is involved with a lot of different charities. I know you guys were doing breast cancer work because of Kim, and we hope she's doing all right. But give us a little update on Chase. I haven't seen his Facebook up there in a while.
No, he's doing great. 13 years old and growing like crazy. So I think he's almost like 6'2" now.
So he's taking after you for sure.
Yeah, he definitely got my genes when it comes to the height. He loves the offshore racing. And, we'll see what his future holds in store. We had a little conversation with him the other day, and I just said to him, I said, is this something you want to do someday? And he kind of looked at me and goes, well, is that something that I can do? I said, well, there's no reason why you can't.
Right.
So, hey, we'll see. There might be another Swears out there on the liquid racetrack sometime in the not too far distant future. But for right now, we're just, my wife Kim is, handling a lot of our business issues every single day. She's actually today up at one of the top 100 dealer events in the United States. It's in Orlando. They have a 3-day seminar and a big gala. Okay. That's which I'm usually attending, but I wanted to come over here and watch the races and show my support. Even though I'm not out there on the racetrack, hey, I still want to be part of this, and that's something that's important to me. And I think that once you're involved in this sport at a high level, there's a lot of great people, a lot of great friends, and fortunately for me, I get to have the opportunity to do some stuff like this with you, Mike, and it's been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, it's been awesome. As CRC Spool Up comes across the start-finish line, they are officially going to take second in the race today. I don't know where that's going to leave them with the OPA World Championships in the standings, simply because they broke yesterday. FB Marine Group has brought us this race. We'll run through our sponsors one more time. But Randy, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure. Your expertise has been awesome. And FB Marine Group for any of your boating needs down here in Florida or nationwide or worldwide.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here today. Appreciate
awesome.
The invitation.
All right, well, FB Marine Group has brought us this race here, our last and final race. We have wrapped up the World Championships here in Englewood, Florida. That's only the second time I've almost said Key West just from experience. What's Up Racing has brought you broadcasting of this race for both days. What's Up Racing, based out of Brick, New Jersey, your one-stop shop for all of your boat needs. from interior to upholstery to whatever you need. What's Up Racing for everything. Dimensional Engineering, leaders in 3D scanning and reverse engineering. AMH Construction, an Orlando-based construction company focusing on hospitality. Go to amhconstruction.com for more information. Porta Products and Porta Performance. We saw some Porte brackets out there on the race course today, and Scott Porte, a former super stock racer, joined us for that race, and we're super glad he did that. And Total Sim US, world-renowned in aerodynamics and CFD specialist, thanks to Total Sim and all of our broadcasts. This race has been produced by 410 Films. Go to 410 Films for 410films.com for more information. 410 Films tagline, what's your story? Thanks to my entire crew. Joe, Mark, my camera guys upstairs, Devin and Laura downstairs. Couldn't have been a better job, better production. Thank you to everybody that's watched live online. Thanks to the fans that come out here on Englewood. We look forward to seeing everybody in 2020 for the APBA Championship Series, as well as the OPA Offshore Racing Series coming to you in 2020. Go to oparacing.org for more information, or follow us on see what happens after you talk so much for a whole day? Follow us on Facebook. Look at OPA Racing for more information. It's been a pleasure bringing you this broadcast from Englewood. Thanks to Ray, the entire staff here. Everybody's done a fantastic job. I am Mike Uwaski signing off for the last time for OPA Racing. Everybody have a great Sunday and enjoy the winter. I heard it up here earlier. I was like, oh shit, what a